survive for 6 straight days on dry ground, produce 600,000 eggs in a single spawning cycle. In some parts of the world, this creature is so aggressive that it actually crawls onto land to attack and swallow pigeons. The biological profile of the African catfish is exactly that of a high-level ecological threat. And now, this 20-kilogram predatory machine is pushing Brazil's natural ecosystems to the edge of collapse. Whether the river water is crystal clear or thick with chemical waste, they still expand exponentially, breaking apart the natural food chain and eliminating every species that stands in their way. One human economic mistake accidentally opened Pandora's box. How severely is South America's ecological system being broken by a fish capable of breathing the atmosphere directly? The scene along the Meia Ponte River, flowing through the Goiânia region of Brazil, looks like the site of an ecological disaster. Many decades ago, beneath the shade of lush green bamboo groves, this was a breeding ground for countless beautiful and biologically valuable native South American fish species such as piau, pintado catfish, and caranha. Local fishers once depended on this diversity to survive. But today, when a hook is cast into the murky water, the only thing that pulls hard enough to snap even ultra-durable braided line is one species, the African catfish. The disappearance of native species did not happen naturally. It is the result of a systematic erasure. The African catfish, whose scientific name is Clarias garriopennis, was shaped by evolution to become an absolute ruler. It operates like a massive consumption machine at the bottom of the river. With a mouth cavity structure capable of opening to an extreme width, it does not waste time biting and tearing. One strike from an adult creates suction powerful enough to swallow an entire native Triera fish into its stomach in an instant. The predatory record of this species goes beyond every limit of the aquatic environment. Stomach content analyses of African catfish in Brazil have revealed a shocking truth: they do not eat only fish. Their menu includes shrimp, crabs, small reptiles, the eggs of other aquatic species, and even birds. Water birds, such as herons, wild ducks, and rails, when wading along the shore, are regularly dragged down to the river bottom by these enormous jaws. The arrival of the African catfish creates a trophic cascade, a collapse from the top of the food chain. In its African homeland, its numbers are controlled by crocodiles, pelicans, and fierce tigerfish. But in the waters of central Brazil, it has absolutely no natural predators. This ecological gap allows the African catfish to easily seize the dominant position, eliminate the food sources of other species, and then eat the competitors themselves. But how can such a massive creature thrive inside polluted rivers, where oxygen levels are so low that other fish species begin to fail after only a few minutes? The answer lies in a biological weapon that nature equipped them with. Most fish breathe by absorbing dissolved oxygen from the water through their gills. When water is polluted by household waste, fertilizer, or industrial chemicals, dissolved oxygen falls sharply, leading to mass fish die-offs. But the African catfish sees the most polluted waters as paradise. It possesses a special biological organ called the suprabranchial organ, a complex structure that functions almost like the lungs of land animals. This organ allows it to rise to the surface and breathe atmospheric air directly. Because of that, even a dissolved oxygen level of 0 underwater is not a problem for it. More than that, scientists have recorded that this species can tolerate ammonia levels and toxic pH concentrations at intensities that no South American fish species can withstand. When polluted rivers wipe out native fish, the African catfish clears away the carcasses, takes over the space, and turns toxic water into its own kingdom. Its endurance reaches its most astonishing level when it is taken out of the water. A real-world test carried out by local fishers in Brazil produced a result that challenges every biological rule. When thrown onto dry ground, one African catfish survived continuously for 6 days. It finally collapsed from total exhaustion and extreme dehydration, not from suffocation. Its defensive mechanism activates perfectly. When it senses that the water environment has vanished, its body immediately secretes an extremely thick and slippery layer of mucus that coats the entire outer skin. This armor-like layer functions as a sealing membrane, preventing the evaporation of water from inside the body. Even more horrifying, it does not lie still waiting to die. Unlike ordinary fish that only thrash uselessly on land, the African catfish uses its extremely powerful pectoral fins to push its body forward. It moves forcefully across cracked ground, crosses fields, and passes through mud at night in search of puddles, ponds, or new river systems. This ability to walk on land is exactly what makes the species a nightmare for environmental managers. You cannot isolate this fish by building dams or draining a lake because it will simply climb onto land and move into another ecosystem. With survival skills on the level of an ecological disaster, how could a species from Africa cross the Atlantic Ocean and enter South American territory? That is when we are forced to look directly at ruthless human intervention. Nature never creates an absurd confrontation between the African catfish and the river ecosystems of Brazil on its own. This invasion is an artificial disaster, born from human greed and ignorance. The global fisheries industry is always searching for species that deliver high economic efficiency, rapid growth, an omnivorous diet, large meat yield, and strong resistance. The African catfish appeared as a perfect economic solution. It was imported into Brazil on a massive scale to supply commercial fish farms and paid recreational fishing lakes, a business model that is extremely common in that country. Humans believed they could imprison a perfect survival machine inside floating cages and artificial ponds, but nature always finds a way to break every wall. During major rainy seasons and storms, floodwaters rose, broke embankments, and overflowed fish ponds. Thousands of African catfish escaped in the muddy current and swam directly into Brazil's untouched natural river systems. On top of that, part of the population, lacking ecological knowledge, deliberately released this species into open environments because they believed it was harmless. Releasing the African catfish into South American ecosystems was like injecting a severe harmful agent into a body with absolutely no antibodies. Native species had never evolved to deal with an enemy possessing that level of strength, speed, and hunting tactics. Similar to the invasion of wild rabbits in Australia or the disruption caused by Asian carp in North American rivers, human intervention in Brazil permanently altered the natural trajectory of ecological balance. And once this monster entered the natural environment, it began activating another large-scale threat, an endless replication machine. The reason native species such as piau, carana, and tigerfish are disappearing from the Meia Ponte River is not only because they are being eaten. The deeper cause is that their future is being erased at the reproductive stage itself. Along the river stands a dam belonging to an old hydroelectric plant that has long been abandoned. According to their natural biological behavior, every year, native fish must swim upstream and migrate to shallow, safe waters in order to lay eggs. However, the giant concrete mass of the dam has completely blocked their route. Millions of native fish are trapped in the still waters directly below the dam. That is when the African catfish appears. This place has accidentally become both an ideal hunting ground and a perfect nursery for the invader. While South American fish are trapped and panicking, the African catfish takes advantage of the opportunity to consume prey on a massive scale. It does not only attack adult fish, it also wipes out the future of the ecosystem itself by devouring entire spawning grounds. At the same time, it begins its own reproductive cycle. The biological data on the reproductive capacity of this species is truly shocking. One female catfish does not lay a few hundred or a few thousand eggs. Modern studies show that one mature female can produce up to 60,000 eggs for every kilogram of body weight. Make one simple calculation. One female weighing 10 kilograms hiding in the Meia Ponte River is capable of releasing more than 600,000 eggs in a single breeding season. The hatching speed is just as explosive. The eggs hatch into larvae after only 24 to 36 hours, depending on water temperature. From the moment they are born, they already carry killer instinct, grow at extreme speed, and can begin reproducing in less than 1 year. Hundreds of thousands of fish hatch, with no predators to control them, grow at astonishing speed, and continue laying tens of millions of additional eggs. This horrifying exponential growth creates an invading army that wipes out the entire biomass of the river, pushing the native ecosystem into a state of total exhaustion. The collapse of a few rivers in Goiás state is only the opening stage of a much larger crisis. An even darker scenario is now forming, one that threatens the very heart of Earth. The concern of scientists, especially biologist Raquel Pires, no longer stops at the borders of urban areas. The real threat now carries continental scale. African catfish have already begun appearing in river branches in southwestern Goiás and in the Turvo River. And they are gradually swimming toward the final ecological red line, the Araguaia River system. Why does Araguaia carry such vital importance? It is not only one of the largest and most biologically diverse rivers in central Brazil, it is also the lifeline directly connected to the Tocantins River. From Tocantins, the water flows straight into the Amazon basin. The Amazon basin is the sacred ground of the global freshwater ecosystem, home to more than 2,500 identified fish species and thousands of others never yet discovered by humans. This is an extremely complex and sensitive food web system. If the African catfish successfully enters the Amazon network, what will happen? Unlike the arapaima or the caiman, native predators that always require stable aquatic environments, the African catfish carries the highest level of survival ability. Even when the Amazon rainforest faces its harshest dry season and ponds and lakes run dry, this creature can still bury itself in mud and breathe atmospheric air directly. It will survive through the very period when native species are at their weakest, then rise again and seize all the remaining resources of the ecosystem. Its presence in the Amazon will no longer be a matter of local pollution, but will trigger a severe ecological crisis, stripping away the survival chances of thousands of precious species on a global scale. Faced with a dangerous invasive species, environmental authorities and scientific experts have had to establish strict regulations. An unwritten but extremely firm directive has been issued to all fishers: absolutely do not apply a catch and release policy to African catfish. The call is very clear: when your hook pulls this creature out of the water, never throw it back into the river. Remove it completely from the ecosystem and apply thorough disposal measures to ensure that it cannot continue spreading. The warning not to use it as food is also a matter of public health. The feeding environments of this fish often contain urban waste and industrial chemicals. Its flesh accumulates large amounts of heavy metals and harmful bacteria. For that reason, consuming this species carries very high risks to human health. Destroying this fish has now become an act of ecological defense, a desperate effort to save the last fragile native lives. The invasion of the African catfish in Brazil is a clear demonstration of human arrogance. For the sake of short-term economic benefit, we have broken with our own hands the defense system that Mother Nature built over millions of years. Nature always has its own harsh laws of balance. Any intervention aimed at manipulating or rewriting those laws will carry a price. The crisis now unfolding in the rivers of South America is a severe warning to the entire world. Humans are racing against time to restore balance, before the only thing left beneath those black waters is the shadow of an immortal predator slowly crawling onto the dry shore.